talking about the importance of having, especially with it being Black History Month, representation and positive role models.
Let's do that. I'm for
And
that.
not just on the TV. I mean, like also in our communities and things like that. So I think with, you know, we have really been doing a good job. I will give us props as a whole, as a community, of really embracing um our history, like really trying to read more, learn more about our history and such, and really pushing ourselves to educate our kids about our history, especially because they pulling a lot of this stuff out of schools. So I will say and give us some props to the fact that we are doing that, but I still feel like in a lot of spaces we are not doing a good job of having or exposing our kids to, or just us period, people period, to more Black representation in our communities. So not just like on TV. One of the things I was just recently talking to somebody about is that one thing that I really love about Robert is that he welcomes other Black men being in Kyron's life. He welcomes other Black men coming around, being, an uncle, just giving perspective. Pretty much my older brother is like a second dad, and he's never felt slighted. He's never felt like he's had to compete with that. And he's open that if, they wanted to like take Kyron to do something or hang out with him, he's very open to that. And I think that we need to have more of that for our kids, especially you're not being exposed to a lot of like mentors, things like that. And when you talk to people as they get older, especially Black men, and you ask them like, who do you go to for advice? Like, who do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that you could talk to if you have questions? Like, and a lot of them just don't do it. They
They
just
don't
don't
have the
think to
answer.
do it. They don't have the answers. So I think it's really important that when we start thinking about representation and role models in our communities, that we look in our communities too, and let our kids and let the people around us know that you can do this too. Like, look, this person is really from where you're at. Because it's hard to make that connection with somebody now that they're like a celebrity. Like, they used to live here, but did they used to live here? Like, were they really from my community? Did they really go through the things I went through? So just really having somebody like in your community as an example, as a representative of what you can be or aspire to be is important. I know you got a lot to say about
I
this topic.
do. This is my bag, sis. That's why I was
I
like,
I
let's
know. I
go.
know. That's what
Let's
this
go.
that's why we talking about it. Because I
Oh,
know
we
how
don't talk
passionate.
about it.
Oh, we gonna talk
Oh,
about
we
it.
don't talk
And
about it.
and that's why I didn't feel it necessary to have a guest, because I know that you and I just have conversations about things like this all the time. So I'm like, we need to bring this on. It is a generational curse and trauma, but it also just not as heavy as some of the other generational curses that we talk about. But historically, we have been very like, you can't tell my kid what to do. I don't need no help with this. I don't want my kid around this. I don't want my kid around this.
And
Um,
I won't necessarily say historically. I think it's a newer. You know me. I'm always with the but
you're
why
right.
taking
It's
all
a
the
newer
back.
thing. I stand corrected.
It's
You are,
newer because back in the day, all we had was each other. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So it was very much so village, tribe, squad, squad. Like Miss Mary across the street to tell that stop if she needed to. And your mama
Good.
looked at her and when she came home and told her she had to tell that, she'd tell you again. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
it.
it was very much so village looking out for each other. Everybody knew everybody because it had to be that. But I think the thing is with now, oh, how quickly we forget. Once we get luxuries and different things to distract us, that we lose sight of the community that held us down, that kept us together. And that village and that tribe kind of dissipated where we got to the point where we are now. We don't know our neighbors. But nobody say nothing to your kids. And I'm all for protecting your children. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
because I ain't about that life. Nobody laying hands on my child either. But I'm not opposed to people correcting him And if it was a correction in a way that he felt unnecessary or that something was wrong about it, he knows that he can come talk to me. We're going to talk that thing through. If I support it, then I'm going to let him know where I support it. If I don't, then we're going to have a conversation with that adult. You know what I'm saying? Like, real simple. But overall, we had to have each other's back in the day because mamas and daddies was working. Outside of that, we had an actual community that was built of people that shopped together, ate together, worked together, went to church together. Everything was together. They went to the dance hall on Saturdays together. Like, you knew these people and they were an extension of your family. And the mentorship and all of that was there because it had to be. We had to pass down these trades. We had to pass down because we needed employees, because we needed to know how to do this within our community. So back in those days, it was a necessity. The moment it stopped being a necessity, I feel like that's when it stopped being done. And that's when it became me and mine.
It even that it necessarily stopped being a necessity. I think a lot of things have contributed to the breakdown in the village and then having that community that you speak on. I think a lot of trauma has happened. We became like very protective, right? Because not everybody, as much as you want to believe in the community, there were still some folks out there that were not doing positive things in the community. You got stuff like abuse, you got stuff like sexual abuse. You get, it's so many reasons why people started like putting their guards up and being careful with who they allow to have access to their kids or who they allowed in their village. I think what happened is we got so far from that though. It was like it was no in between. It was no just using more discernment or no just having a balance. It was like, nope, I ain't letting this person around my kid. Like, this person can't say nothing to my kid. This person can't say nothing to my kid. You can't do this and you can't do that. And so now we just have a bunch of our youth just running around without the village.
Guidance. Yeah. And I think it's really because we got to look at the way society is set up right now. Parents have to work.
They have to.
Like, middle class is darn near non-existent. You got to have $1 million in the bank, liquid, to really be considered middle class. I was talking to a banker not too long ago, and he was telling me that. He was like, no, like, I legit did the math. And he was like, you got to have, like, liquid $1 million to be middle class. I need y'all to let that just, adults, like grown adults, cannot afford to live on their own and pay bills and feed themselves nowadays. And it's not just because they lazy and they want to have roommates. They can't afford it. Like, middle class, literally liquid $1 million. And so when we put that in perspective, parents are working. Because the bills keep getting higher and kids are eating. They are growing. They want more food. Lights is expensive. Like, all of these things. So the parents are working more. And because the parents are working more and that village is not as tight-knit as it once was, who's there for these children, right? Nobody. Sometimes, back in the day, it used to be grandma or auntie or somebody that was retired, that can hold it down until so-and-so get off work or go check in on them or whatever it was. And then you also had like legit trades, clubs, and skills that were being taught to children at very early age, like young carpenters and like mechanics and like learning actual trades and skills. And those things aren't happening anymore. Even when they were in schools, they're not anymore. Those were the first things they janked up out the schools. And so our kids not only we don't have someone there to just watch them in general, but then they're not getting the same skills and knowledge sets in that past time of having someone there mentoring them as they once did. Now, I'm going to be really honest because my blessings are real. I am very, very, very grateful. And I will never not talk about my mentors because I've had some amazing mentors and still have some amazing mentors from a very early age. Shout out to Miss Masaquan, Mr. Rami. I'ma always shout out my mentors because I love them. They're my second parents. Um, Met them when I was 15 years old. And really a huge part of why I do everything that I do. Culturally, it was them. You know what I'm saying? But why? That was them, right? Like, I started acting with them, writing with them, hosting radio with them. That's literally how I started hosting at the age of 15, live radio. Um, Everything, writing, producing, acting, all of it. I started with them at 15 and I've been doing it ever since. So literally when I say molded and shaped my life into what it is, they are a huge, huge part of that. So if I don't know what my life would, I mean, I'm dope, so I probably still be dope, but in a different way and probably a lot less dope if I did not come across them, because they poured into me and they still pour into me as this grown woman that I am today. Every chance that they get, every time that we speak, I learn something new, and I'm just sitting at their feet, accepting all the wisdom. So hopefully I can give it to somebody else, and that's my thing. I don't take it lightly because I know a lot of people that come from the same block, hood, neighborhood, age group that I'm in did not have mentors like that, and so I made it a point that because I had these amazing people in my life and these amazing opportunities that taught me these amazing skill sets, I'm going to be that person for somebody else. So I started mentoring when I was a teenager. I started teaching that same program that I was in as a teenager. I was interning, moved from an intern to an instructor, moved from an co-instructor to instructing it by myself. Because it's that important to me, because I saw how they shifted my life. And I'm like, I want to be able to do that for other young people. And so I think there is a demographic of people who had mentors that were like, yes, I'm going to do this. Because I know a lot of people who are giving back and doing mentorship programs. Shout out to Will North, who has been on the show a couple of times. He works with Mufasa's Pride out in Houston, Texas, which is a male mentoring group, rites of passage kind of African-centered group for young men out there. So there are people doing it. It's just not the majority. But the people who did have the opportunity, I feel like, to come up with really amazing mentors, we want to give it back because we know what it feels like. We know what it looks like. We know how it can transform lives. But for the many that did not, they don't know anything else. They, you know what I'm saying? Some do. Some is like, because I had this rough path and I had to figure it out by myself, I'm gonna become a mentor so somebody else ain't got to go through this rough path. But then the other ones, the large majority, they didn't have it.
Equally though, sis, there are guys and there are people out there doing exactly what you're saying. But I also think that they meet a lot of pushback from parents. I think that they meet a lot of pushback from the youths, even, about wanting to do it. But I don't feel like it's enough parent guidance in, you need to do this thing, or you should do this thing, or I've signed you up for this mentoring program so that, especially in households where there is that missing influence. You don't hear the parents saying, you know what? I know that this is getting beyond my understanding because I am a phenomenal mom. I know what I give to my babies. I know what I give to them. But I also know that I cannot compensate for everything. And having that other parent is important. Having other parents, so not just, the other parent that made them with me, but having other parents that are parenting their kids that are also in their life is instrumental and is influential in their lives. And I feel like there's not enough of us adults saying, you know what, I'm gonna put my kid in this early. I'm going to expose my kid to this mentorship program. I'm going to put them in, a space where they can see Black people like them in their communities doing A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And I feel like I want to see more of that. I want to see more of the adults, more of the parents taking some initiative in that. because it matters. I think it's phenomenal to have the celebrities and for kids to look up to celebrities and for them to see like, wow, they used to live here and they do this now and they made it here. But the reality of it is that the majority of those babies ain't gonna be that. But it does not mean that they can't be something amazing. And we don't want them to just this to be the only representation that they have, is that I can only make it, I can only do this and this and this if I'm a rapper, or if I play sports, or if I do this or do that. And it's all this celebrity stuff.
Right.
They could also be phenomenal business people, entrepreneurs. They could be phenomenal plumbers. They could be phenomenal carpenters. They
We
can
need
do.
some phenomenal plumbers, Lord.
We need phenomenal plumbers. We need phenomenal trade folks. Period.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
It's so much room for them to be focusing on, but we're only showing them very one-sided images of what success look like. And so we want to try and balance that out, that representation, that you don't have to rap or do sports. Like if you do sports, great. Like whatever your kid is good at, I'm wholeheartedly with you to nurture that spirit. But I also think it's important that we're showing them the things in their own communities that they can do and how it can make them successful and give back to where they come from.
And even just that initial piece of what you said, like the parents pushing these young people in certain directions. Kids ain't gonna want to do nothing, especially when you allow them not to do nothing. So, like, to hear a parent go, well, they just don't want to. Yeah, because kids don't want to do much. Like, other than what they want to do, which is chill, eat, sleep, like play the game, go out with their friends, talk on the phone. Like, that's all teens really want to do. So my thing is, like, it does take an example of sometimes not just the parents, but older siblings or cousins and stuff too. Because I'm gonna let you know again, I'm shouting out everybody that needs to be shout out. Shout out to Chanel Lane, my big sister. Okay. Because she was the one who actually found the Teen Talk Radio Theater program where I met my mentors that are still my mentors today. And she was like, this is perfect for you. You should do it. It's amazing. And I'm like, okay, yeah. What is it?
Yeah.
But she came so like lit and excited. I don't even remember this. I don't even know if she remember how she found it. I know it was through After School Matters at the time, but I don't even know how she came across it. But she came home and she was like, look, you need to sign up for this. This is amazing. This is you. Do it. Yes. And I was like, okay. So it was my big sister that really pushed that for me. And I don't know where I would be if I did not do that program. Life-changing experience. And so I would also put a call out there to the older siblings, to the big cousins, the aunties, the uncles, because sometimes the parents ain't got the bandwidth. Let's just be honest. We just talked about how they got to work. They tired. And the kids is irritated. Like, let's be honest. They tired because they working all the time. That makes the kids more irritating. They come home, they ain't got no break. They gotta wake up, go to sleep, and do it all over again.
Look, not just come home, go to sleep. Sometimes you gotta come home, do homework. You gotta cook dinner. You gotta try to clean the house. Like, you gotta do all of this stuff. So you may don't have the capacity to look. But then
that's where that village comes in.
But hold on, because I know I've come across situations where there have been other folks saying, hey, I think your kid would be good for this or be good for that, and then that parent is still like, I got this and I don't want this and I don't want that and I don't know about this, and they're not taking that seriously. They're not looking into those things. So sometimes you do have folks really sharing the information because you don't have it, and you still got reluctant parents that are just not really trying to do it.
Well, it's gonna always come back to the parents. Yeah. And though it takes a village, it does. It's gonna come back to the parents because I've seen it firsthand. Now it's very different. Like I've been teaching, mentoring, and working and instructing youth for a very long time. A very long time. Again, I started when I was a teenager. And like to see the difference in not only the young people but the parents from when I started into like now teaching classes and stuff. And when I do get a chance to interact with the parents, like before, the parents would sign up, they would drop them off at the interviews, they would be there, they would come. Like I personally didn't want to interact with parents. I'm like, I'm here to teach these kids. I don't really that's how I was as a teacher. I'm like, I'm here for these babies. All right, listen. But when I did meet the parents, like at the final performances and stuff like that, the ones that, you know, some parents make their presence known. Shout out to those parents. They picking up, they walking in, they checking in. How was it today? Boo, boo, boo. Other parents, you don't meet to the end. But they were always so grateful for like the shift in their child. They, oh, I could see that this happened. I could see, you know, she changed her behavior, whatever, right? Like now, I don't ever meet the parents. Now, like, before where I was like, look, I just want to teach the kids. Now I'm like, dang, parents, where you at? Like,
Right.
And I can see within the children that the parents aren't there because of how they behave. One, like I wouldn't dare behave the way these kids is behaving because I had standards for myself. But two, I know Ernestine would have been wherever I was at real quick if I act like these kids was acting. So
I try to tell my mom that all the time. I be like, listen, I ain't saying I was a perfect kid. I was not a perfect kid, and I said and do things, but I had limitations on things that I was willing to do because my mama scared the hell out of me. Okay. And more than me being afraid that she would literally take me out, I just didn't want her disappointment. I cared a lot about her disappointment in me. I cared a lot about how her and my father would see me. I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to embarrass them. I didn't want to bring shame to them or my older brother because, you know, my older brother was best friend, but also one of my parents. Like, you know, to your point with Charnel, like that was my big brother. So I didn't want to do anything that was going to bring shame upon them. So I had limits. It was like, look, y'all on y'all own with that one. Like, I'm going to.
That's not for me.
That's not for me. And I feel like kids don't have that standard anymore. But I also think that beyond just the parents, which brings it to the topic, I just feel like they don't have a lot of hope. They don't feel and see a lot of hope for themselves. They don't feel the connection to their reality versus their dreams and what they could actually become because they do know that not everybody's gonna be Jay-Z, not everybody's gonna be Beyonce, like not everybody's gonna be that.
But so I would even say a lot of them don't even have hope enough to dream.
They don't. They
don't even have those larger aspirations, and that's one of those big difference from like working with kids back in the day to working with kids now. I'm like, yo, what? Having like a real conversation with a 8th grader. Like, and him saying he doesn't even know if he gonna live that long. That's real.
That's
these kids. That's terrifying and it's so sad.
Yeah.
But it's real to them. You know? And then so that's like, why should I even try if I might not make it? Especially when you don't have those reinforcers, those mentors, those people to say, yes, the hell you can. Change your behavior and we're going to change some other stuff along the way too and we finna get it. But then on top of that, nobody's pushing them. And when I say nobody, the parents are not pushing them, but the school ain't pushing them either.
Look, the school system is broken. We know this. There will be a show on talking about just education as a whole and how it's also not always the best, even if it seems like it's the best school district for our kids. I feel like it doesn't always prepare them for the world that they're going out into. But we know that there are some gaps and there is some brokenness in the school system. So I stop expecting for the school to do that. I want parents and I want adults to take the initiative to do it on their own. Because if we sitting around waiting for it to be reflective in the school system that's ran by people that don't care about our communities, it's very apparent that they
and that benefits when our communities fail.
And listen,
literally benefits, gains. from
That
the
part.
failure of our community and the imprisonment of our babies in us and the deaths too.
Yeah,
Like they benefit from it. So why would they want us to succeed?
they don't.
And that's the thing. You already know. Shout out to the Healing Academy. Everybody getting shout outs today.
Yeah.
Um, like creating something that is all of our own that truly educates our children, but not only just educate our children as far as reading, writing, math, science, all of that. They will be A1, absolutely. But this is the part that's lacking that we're talking about today, right now on the show: the social emotional learning aspect. Who are you? How do you feel? How do you react to these feelings? Feelings are huge. Nobody's teaching these babies how to deal with these feelings. It's a lot that they have access to via their cell phone, via TV, via whatever else that
Oh,
we did not have access to at that age. And so when they feel hopeless, it's because they're flooded constantly with the news. Somebody else just recorded a police officer killing somebody else. Somebody else, you know what I'm saying? Like they are bombarded with so much stuff that we didn't even have to fully think about at their age, that nobody's probably truly explaining to them. And they have a lot of emotions. Teenagers going through puberty, like everything's going on. And
everything.
nobody's really taking the time to really help them work through these things. But not
Part of it though, sis, is because they can. They like
you can't teach
the
them they got.
you can't teach what you can't pour from a cup that ain't full, that don't have anything in it. And it's like the more that I watch the behaviors of adults, the more that I talk to adults, the more I recognize that the heads of the fish is rotting. They don't have any concept of how to deal with their own emotions. We've been conditioned and trained for so long to bury how we feel, not to actually deal with it. So those of us that are really on the social emotional learning kick, that's from trial and error. That's from having something trigger. I know for me, it triggered as a kid where I was just like, look, I am a person. It was times where I just wanted, and my mom, did allow space for me to express how I felt. But it was counterproductive sometimes if I expressed how I felt and all you was going to tell me was, I don't have the right to feel that way, or I don't got nothing to worry about in life.
Yeah.
So why am I feeling that way? So then you start like, okay, I guess I can't feel this way. So you start learning very little, very
Your feelings
young,
don't matter.
that your feelings don't matter, or that you have to reject your feelings. Like you don't have the right, or you don't have the space to feel these things because you ain't got this and you ain't did that. And so it was no space for you to feel. But as a kid, I was like, this is wrong. And that's probably when I got the most rebellious ever in my life, was
But see,
like,
that's exactly why kids get rebellious.
it
Like
is.
that is exactly why. Because as a child, you're being told, sit down, shut up, do what I say, do, talk when you spoken to, all these different things. And on top of that, you taught your feelings don't matter. All of these different things. You're getting talked at and not talked to. All of these different things. But at a certain age, the build up happens and you start getting grown and start doing your own and all these other things. You like, hold on. And then not only that, you start seeing your parents for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the things they telling you to do, they might not be doing. And then
Facts.
all these other things that start formulating once you start getting that consciousness around about 12, 13 years old. And then people say it's, teenage angst or what. No, it's me asserting my dominance because I'm not comfortable with being told sit down and shut up no more. It's me stepping into my personhood because I'm a person and I've been a person this whole time. Now I just got enough energy to say it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's exactly what happens, like middle school, high school, grown years. It's them saying, nah, this ain't good enough. And if you can't have that conversation with your child to figure out what's really going on, how can I help? What needs to change? What can we shift? Instead of just being like, oh, see, you acting or you think you're grown, you can talk to me and kind of like, no, well, something's happening.
Something's going on. And that is a big thing that I think that we miss so much as adults. not all of us. I'm proud because a lot of parents are like, you know what, they're on this gentle parenting kick, which I don't really like. It's not that it's gentle parenting. I don't use that I'm a gentle parent. I use that I'm an understanding parent, that I am a parent that gives my children the freedom to be human, not to the freedom to do whatever the hell they want to do, because they have rules and they know that I have limitations, and they will tell you that when I mean business, I mean business. But they also know that if I'm having a really tough time with something, I'm going to be able to tell my mom how I feel. And I know my mom is going to make the space in the room for me to express how I feel. She's not going to tell me that I don't have a right to feel that way. She's not going to shoot my emotions and my feelings down. She might tell me the blunt truth, which I may not want to hear in the moment, but she's going to acknowledge that I have feelings and that I'm a person. And that is what a lot of kids is looking for. And if they don't feel that they can trust you to be safe with their emotions, then who can they trust?
Mm-hmm.
Where do they, who do they trust? Where do they go? They usually go and find other people. Right, fact.
So but see, that's when we open up like Pandora's box, when your children don't feel comfortable to talk to you because you come at them a certain way. And so then they're going to go ask so-and-so. And we don't know what so-and-so saying. So-and-so may not have the facts. Okay? So-and-so may not guide your child in the direction you may guide your child. So
usually so-and-so is a peer and they don't know what the hell they talking.
So-and-so be Ray now from up the street.
Facts.
And so we gotta have somewhat, because then sometimes it can't be us. Again, that's why it takes a village. Like as parents, sometimes it cannot be us. Who can we put in place that we know has the child's best interest at heart, that they feel comfortable with, that if it's not me, you can say that. Like it may not be mommy that you want to talk to in this moment.
Talk to somebody.
Can we call so-and-so? Can you talk to so-and-so? Y'all ain't even got to tell me, but can you talk to so-and-so? Because so-and-so, we on the same page. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where that village come in. And I don't know if you know, sis, but on the 26th of this month, Healing Academy, we're going to be doing an event actually called It Takes a Village. But it's around foster care. Because that's the other part of it. There are that we don't talk about. There are so many Black and brown babies in foster care.
Yes, it is.
They don't have that village. They don't have the parents to guide them to create a village around them. They don't have it. So do we do? Because those babies gonna grow up and phase out of foster care, and they're gonna be out here in the world chilling.
I've seen it.
Community members with us. So what do we do? Yeah. And so that's what we're gonna talk about on the 26th. We're going to have that real conversation that we don't have. I've never seen this happen before. I've never been to an event. I mean, I'm not saying it hasn't, I'm just saying I've never seen it. But we need to have this conversation about our babies because those are our babies. They might not have come through us, but it takes a village. Who is their village? If we're all out here living our regular lives, because that's what happens. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's not to shade nobody, because I'm out here living my regular life. I got a lot of stuff to do. But when are we going to take this time to stop and think about these babies who don't have their village? Who is preparing them not only just for life, paying bills and all of that?
Listen, and I'm going to tell you the truth because I've seen this. I've worked for an agency where there were teenagers in the foster care system that struggled to stay placed for whatever reason. And this was probably one of the hardest jobs that I had. Not because the work was hard, but because I knew that this place was not fully preparing our babies to go out into the world once they phase out of the system. This place was not listening when I was trying to tell them, this is what these babies need. This is what they want. If you have them, if you're trying to really prepare them because you care, you're not doing a good job of that. But these babies are just a number. They are just the means to a revenue stream. And when these babies are in the system and they're not going to these shelters, et cetera, or they're being placed in families or in homes, sometimes they're just a revenue stream. They're not really caring about these babies. And we just be like, well, if their parents ain't got their stuff together, then whatever, whatever. But what we don't realize is, to your point, that these people become part of our society. They go out and they become the people that our people, our children, live alongside, that they come into contact with, and the brokenness just keeps going and continues. And so I'm so proud of the Healing Academy for having this conversation, because they're getting the least amount of representation, positive role models and examples in their life. And if they're inside of communities or inside of programs, then they really are just institutionalizing them. It's the same thing where they're just keeping them on the same path as to the prison pipeline system.
Come on.
And so we do need to, what it comes down to is, what we really lost is the idea of village. Everybody has just been for themselves. And I get it. Like, it's been a struggle. Like, it's been a struggle for Black folks. It's been a struggle for Black folks in our communities. People just want to get their head above water. But I feel like we as a society, we've become very self-centered, very selfish, and very self-focused, that we're not looking at each other as a village anymore. Like, we're not kinfolk. We don't trust each other. We'll trust other people before we trust each other. And it's sad. And we need to have better representation of that, better examples of us getting along.
And even I know you mentioned and was saying it's not just TV, but we gotta look at the power and the influence that the mainstream media.
I was just gonna go there.
That's TV. That's all of that. Social media now. Like, we have to look at the impact that it's having literally on our psyche. It's called programming for a reason. Music is vibrations and frequency. We are vibrations and frequency. So the things, I said it on the show before, I'm gonna say it again. I say it all the time. I say it because I mean it. We gotta watch what we eat, but we definitely gotta watch what we feed our children. Like,
feeding our brains, yes.
What we watch in front of them, what we listen to in front of them, get it, you grown. You can listen to and watch whatever you want. But these babies, because if they grow up thinking that's reality because you're programming their minds and they're young and they don't know anything different, they're gonna be like, oh, that's what life is. That's how a woman acts. Oh, that's how Black people act. Oh, that's how we talk. That's who they're with.
I have this conversation a lot when it comes to reality TV, because one of the things I don't know why I be bothered even watching this shit at this point. I keep telling myself, like, I'm not gonna keep watching this stuff, because there's not one reality TV show with Black women that shows Black women getting along and just like having fun with each other. There's always underhandedness. There's always fighting. They always arguing. There's drinks being thrown, like they're not ever getting along. It's just messy, messy boots. And I just remember Naraya being like, all they do is fight. Like, this is just ridiculous. And I was kind of proud that she noticed that it's ridiculous and it's just not what it should be. But just imagine that is influencing a lot of our young women, or a lot of identifying women or self-identifying women that go out in communities and think that that's what it means to be a woman, just to be messy boots. That's what it means to be your friend.
Trauma too. Because they watching that and they see Black women attacking Black women, talking to Black women, in their mind, even though they've never experienced it other than seeing it on this show, they like, oh, women, all they do is fight. I can't trust females. I can't trust no females. All they do is backstab. Boo, boo, boo. And that's in their mind as kids. So how you think they going to respond to that and manifest that as they become an adult? They have never experienced, ain't nobody ever backstab or talk about them. But in their mind,
it's bound to happen. It's coming.
Right. So they ain't even going to let nobody get the chance.
Yeah.
Because they've seen it on TV and they watched it with their mama. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta really be mindful on that. And then even like the programming of music, we gotta be careful. I know it's a bop. I know it's a vibe. I know we grown. We gonna turn up because I listen to Cardi. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't listen to it with Jaleel, but I
I
listen
listen
to him. I got a baby. I need some money. That's my favorite. You feel me? Soon Jaleel was born, I was like, I got a baby. You know what I'm saying? I listen. It's a bop, but we gotta be mindful of what we pour into these kids. Because when I see little girls sitting there talking about at the red light twerking on them headlights, I want to snatch everybody in sight. Do you hear me? I want to snatch mama's auntie, granddaddy, the radio host, the DJ who played it, them kids. I want to snatch everybody because they think that's normal.
Yes.
When it's videos on social media of little girls literally standing on top of cars and driveways twerking, little girls, because they think that's normal behavior.
But that's what they see.
We gotta do better.
That's what they see.
Do better.
And it's supposed to be acceptable. We just so far. And to your point with this, I also want to say that the old system where we didn't allow our kids to have understanding with certain things, or, you know, trying to shield them to a point where they were so sheltered that they didn't know how, you know, to do this or that or what this and that meant. We don't want that either. We don't want that either, but there has to be a balance, right? Where we're giving them positive and some sort of balance of what they're being exposed to and what representation we're showing them, what examples we're showing them, because they're getting the wrong idea. They're thinking that this is normal. This is what, like, listen, I love to twerk, okay? But there's a time and place where I twerk. There's a time and place where I do that.
You ain't at the red light twerking on them headlights.
I'm not.
You're not. You are not.
I'm not.
I've never seen it.
And I better not see my 16-year-old at the red light twerking on headlights.
I'm snatching everybody.
I better not see it. I better not see it. So we get it. We get it. You know, you like, to your point, you like what you like. You like to listen to your music. But these kids also be hearing old school music. They think it's corny, like, you know, why are you listening to this old music? I'm like, this is good music. Like, I still listen to our parents' music. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, some of that stuff our parents was listening to around us, that wasn't acceptable either. So it ain't just the us problem, you know. Now that I'm older and I understand,
definitely should not have been thinking.
Had out here doing the Snake to Erotic City by Prince. I ain't had no business. I had no business, mama.
I had no business.
I had no business watching Purple Rain in the 80s when I was born in the 80s. I had no business.
No business.
Watching nobody purify themselves in Lake Minnetonka. I have no business. None. I had zero business. But I did watch it.
But you did.
I had no business. I did. I did watch it. So I get that parents do that, you know. I'm sure when my kids get old, they're gonna be like, my mama had no business.
Cause it's like, I want to watch TV. Cause let's be honest, parents, I understand. Listen, I know it's hard. They will always want to watch Ryan. I'm speaking from my trauma. Jalea watched Ryan 24/7. She always want to watch somebody playing the game on YouTube. He at that age. Like, I don't want to watch YouTube, baby. I want that. So, like, you will never have TV time if you don't just be like, we gonna watch my show. I get that. But I will sacrifice my TV time to know that when he's awake, sometimes if it's something I really want to watch, he fall asleep and I watch it on low, real low. You know what I'm saying?
Real
like,
low.
On low. You feel me?
Real low.
You feel me? But at the same time, where we together and like, I got a second to watch TV. I'm like, what we watching together? If he like, I want to watch Ryan or somebody play a game, I'm like, nope, we going to find something on Netflix or YouTube or a cartoon we ain't seen yet, and we going to pick something that we can watch together. It's all about that togetherness. And that's bonded too. Because listen, I be in here watching all the good cartoons and I be crying, y'all. They got beautiful stories and messages, all right? And they be real. They got some jokes for us in there too. They probably shouldn't, but they got some jokes in there for us too. But you got to find that balance. You got to determine what's more important. And I think when it comes to role models and representation for our children, that's really what it comes down to. as the adults, we are the role models. We are the representation. So we have to make a hard decision. What kind of person am I showing up as in my child's life, in my cousin's life, in my siblings' life, and in these kids I teach life, and the kids I mentor life, and these kids walking down the street life? What am I showing up as? And when you make that decision, you got to change whatever behaviors you need to change to show up in that way that you say you want to show up. Like, I show up at Jalil's school so much, it's not even his pre-K class. First, it started off as his pre-K. I'm the pre-K mom. All them kids know me. Their parents be real confused. They pick up when the kids waving at me. They're like, who is that woman? But I'm in the class. They know me. I'm going to be here. And then now, because I come to the school all the time, the older kids know me too. We went to the winter ball, and I walked over in the 8th grade. It's like, hey, you, because I was in there teaching them how to do the soldier boy. You feel me?
Look, I'm just finna tell you now, because that used to be me, but I was always Naraya or Kyron's mom. Like I have a whole
Julia's mom.
You just it's like, or Mrs. Tate, or Mrs. Tate. You can even I'll even settle for Miss F. You can call me Mrs. T. Like I was just Naraya or Kyron's mom. That's it.
No first name.
That's it.
Julia's mom. I'm Julia's mom. All the teachers, hi Julia's mom.
Yep. Hey. Yep.
I'm all right with it. Hey. Yeah. That's
how I don't know how I feel about it.
I'll be like, hey, this is Miss Reed, Julia's mom. Oh, hey.
But at least you say, I do that too. But at least I'm like, this is, Mrs. Tate. And, I'm the parent of so-and-so. But they just stopped it. I'm just the parent. But go ahead. I just had to put that out there.
Yeah, mom. And I had a conversation with the lady who's always at the front desk. She's like, yeah, because you're Julia's mom. She's like, same thing happened to me. Once you have kids, you don't have to. You come to the school and you're that person's mom. That's who you are.
That's all.
And I'm like, I'm cool.
That's who I am.
I get it. That's who I am. And it's my first time having that reality because I'm me, and then I go to the school and I'm Julia's mom.
I'm so glad though. That just makes me happy because I was that mom that went on the field trips. Yes, I was at every room party, and then when both of them was in the same school, girl, I used to be running from one end of the school to the other end of the school because I had to be room parent for both. So I would be like, listen, I'm gonna spend the first part of the day of the afternoon at this child's room, and then I would switch. So the next party I start off at this kid's room, and then I go to finish at the other kid's room. I brought the treats, I brought the toys. Like I did all that stuff. Well, you can't bring cheats, but I would bring goodie bags that had like pencils and erasers and stuff in it, so it wouldn't be actual candy unless you were gonna bring like a closed snack. But I would do like pencils, erasers, little toys, little trinkets. That's what their birthday bags would look like. I would have birthday bags for the class, but it wouldn't be no treats. I mean, I miss doing the cupcakes and stuff more so because I like cake. Like I definitely like cake. But
Valentine's Day coming up.
Yeah, go to Dollar Tree. This is what I went to the Dollar Tree.
And our teachers had gifts for Christmas. I'm like, here you go. The music teacher had a gift. The office lady had a gift. Everybody had a little gift for Christmas.
And I would give end of the year presents like that. I was that parent. Like if a trip was coming up, they just knew I was gonna chaperone. I did.
They just had your name down.
They already knew that I was coming because it was important for me to show up for my kids like that. Like if you tell them now, like they have memories from me going on their trips with them. Girl, I almost passed out one time. I'll tell this quick story. I was the chaperone and I had to go get the bag lunches that everybody brought their lunches. And it was like in this bottom cellar of the place we were at. And it was all of these stairs. Now it was this big box with at least 20 different sacks of food in there. So it's juices, it's all kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait.
So it ain't light, is what you're saying.
Girl, I made it. But when I say I got home and crashed, I crashed. I was tired. I ain't never been so tired. It was at the Napier settlement. I ain't never been that tired. I had to carry all of these snacks up the stairs. Then I couldn't find the class because they had moved from the spot we was originally going to do the lunch because they didn't like it there. So they went somewhere else. And I'm just carrying this box. I was like, it's time for the wagon. This is ridiculous.
Yes, for the wagon. I'm
I
with you on
almost
the wagon.
passed it out, sis. I almost passed out.
But
But we,
that is so important because you were not only there showing up for your kids, you're there for all the other babies whose parents
yes,
couldn't be there. And you're
that was
showing
even
them an
parent to school
example
days.
of a mom that shows up. Like one of the
It's,
little babies told me, we went to the what we was at the aquarium.
mhm.
And it was he walked up to me, and it's actually the little boy that Jaleel always talking about be bullying him. 1 second they friends, 1 second they not. And so he walked up and he was like, I wish you were my mom. And I was like, I'm like, what do I say to that? So I just held his hand and I was like, well, okay, B, but I'm here for you, you know, like that.
Yeah.
And so you showing them something different. That's how you be that representation. And so it doesn't have to be something as huge as, leading a mentorship program or
It can be
all of that.
that.
It's just showing up.
True
It's showing
story.
up.
We would go, or at least I would go to every single bring your parent to school day. When they would have those days at school, I was always there. Now, Robert couldn't always go, but there were times when he would come for a little bit and then he would have to leave, or he would, find a break to come in and pop in for a little bit and leave. There was always at least one or two babies that parents couldn't come for whatever reason. These babies would break down crying. So what I would do is I would ask the teacher, like, can they sit here? And then I would help be there for them and do stuff with them and for, Naraya or Kyra. And the thing that I loved about my babies is they never felt some sort of way about that. They never felt
Right.
like, I want my mom's attention. Like they were okay with that because they could tell that this person was sad. And what I would tell those babies is when they would cry and say, well, my mom doesn't show up or my dad doesn't come, I don't know their mom and dad, but it's not my place to foster this negative thought about their parents. So what I would say was, well, moms and dads are out trying to do other stuff for you. Maybe they're working, and sometimes when you're working, you just can't come. Like, it's just, at the time, a lot of the time I was working overnight, or I just had a very flexible job, and I said not all parents have that. And so you want to give your parent some slack and just be nice, because maybe they're at work so that you can have a really nice place to come home to, or that you can eat McDonald's when you want to eat it. And so they would be like, okay. And I said, but if they're not here, that I can help you today. Like, I can be with you today.
And that's how you foster that village. Like you're those parents' village and they don't even know.
Yeah.
But that's that important piece because as kids don't have all the rationale in the world. Teenagers don't have all the rationale in the world. Young adults ain't got all the rationale in the world. Sometimes real grown elders.
I was finna say that. I was like, ain't just the young adults. Because there's some old fools out there too now.
Old don't have all the rationale. So imagine a little person and all they know is that they want their parents there and they can't be there. But they're not thinking about all the other elements that goes along with it. So it helps to have that village, that person that's there, even if they don't know you there, that got their back, that's kind of helping their child think that through. And kids, once you explain something to them, they get it. They get it. Like I'll say something to Jaleel and then he'll come help me the next time something happens. I'll be like, oh, thank you. Thank you for that. They get it. And they want to understand. And I think that's the thing we have to remember when we are dealing with young people. They really want to understand. So we have to be there to talk them through, work them through these things. And that's the main point about being a mentor, about positive representation. They want to see us. They want to have someone to be able to come to. They want to get their questions answered in a safe space where they don't feel attacked or bullied or anything else. So we have to make sure we show up for them in that way. Again, it doesn't have to be you starting the whole mentor program. If that is what you want to do that thing and do it amazingly. If it is just showing up in your kids' classroom, them 12 however many kids that you are being a shining example for. If it is adopting, you know what I'm saying? Like no matter what it looks like for you, do that thing and do it to the best of your ability because it's going to make an impact. Even if what they say, I am but one, but I am one. Like, even if you think it's just one person, that one person is going to shift and touch somebody else. And it makes a huger, and if till we really start doing that, creating those ripples of kindness, creating those ripples of representation of love, then we just going to keep getting more of what we got. And we can't hide that.
We can't. We can't. I agree, sis. I definitely want to make sure that you share the info for the Healing Academies event. And it's a very important discussion. Keep me posted because I may want to sit on that thing too and be
Girl,
there and
come
be
on,
there for that
girl.
because that's
You
such
got
an
firsthand
important
experience. We need
that's
that
just
firsthand
such an
experience.
important thing. So definitely be looking for shares on the flyer for that. We try to always share when there's events and such coming up. So definitely we'll be plugging that. But before we round out to this 1 hour mark, because last time y'all was in for a treat. Y'all
We
stuck
was
with us
talking,
last
talking.
time. We gonna talking about that. It ran 2 hours long. We ain't had a show that long in a long time. But y'all hung in with us and we appreciate you for it. But we're gonna try and stick to that 1 hour mark. So sis, when it
Yes.
comes to positive representation and examples in our community, what are your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts on representation in our community. You are the representation. And I say that to literally anyone who's listening. You are the representation of our community. So if you 12, if you 3.5, if you 33, 43, 53, 69, it don't matter. All of it. You are the representation of our community because someone is always looking at you. Even if you 3, it's a 2-year-old, 1-year-old looking at you. It's always someone looking at you. So be that beacon of light. Again, it comes back to making a choice. And I think a lot of the times we relinquish our power, and that's why we don't step into it because we don't think we have it. We relinquish it to the government. We relinquish it to whomever, your boo thing. Like, we just relinquishing power left and right. Take your power back. And when you stand in that, you understand that the choice you make in your mind is what it is, and it's done. So if I say I'm going to be this kind of mom, or I'm going to be this kind of community member, or I'm going to be this kind of mentor, that's what I'm going to be. And it's the same thing for every single one of us out there that's watching this now or that hears this later. Make that commitment to show up again in the way that works best for you. If it's starting that mentorship program, if it's being a teacher's aide, if it's showing up for your kids, if it, whatever, being a foster parent, whatever it is for you, show up authentically in that way and be that beacon of representation no matter where you go, at the grocery store, at the gas station,
everywhere,
at the playground. Be that representation everywhere you go because someone is always watching you.
Ooh,
always.
If that ain't the truth, look, I used to dress up every day in college. I used to have on my heels and everything else. And people was like, why you always come to school like that? It's just school. Because I'm like, you don't ever know who watching. Like, I might be walking past somebody I'm gonna go for a job for later, and they may say you were the person that was always looking nice for school or whatever. So you gotta make sure that you representing, you doing a positive representation too, because you just never know who watching. I feel you on that, sis. Closing thoughts for me when it comes to being or having positive representation is just allow for it to have space in your children's lives and your lives. Like, allow for the space to do that. As much as I think I'm a phenomenal parent, I don't have all the answers. And the more perspectives that I can expose my children to, the more well-rounded they become, the more ready for the world they become. It is not a threat to my parenting and my parenthood to have someone else step in to provide support in the village. I want them to see as many positive role models as possible. I want them to have as many positive representations as they possibly can. And I don't take slight to it. I don't feel like I'm less than because I'm exposing them to these things. I feel like what I'm doing is I'm giving them a better view of what they can become. I'm giving them options on how they can get there where they don't feel trapped for one particular journey. So if I have to have closing thoughts, it's make space as a parent, make space for more positive representation in your children's lives and more positive role models and examples also. So it's not meaning that you're a bad parent.
Not at all. But
You are actually
nobody can do
opposite.
it all.
Nobody can do it
Nobody
all.
can do it all. And it's gonna always be something, just keeping it up, that your children will not want to tell you as their parent.
Right.
Have somebody
Yep.
in that state that can slide in when need
Yep.
be, on reserve. Keep them on speed
It's
dial.
true. It's true. And you don't take offense to that when your kid says that. When they say that, they don't want to talk to you or they need something else. Like, I'm okay with that as long as they're talking to somebody. If it's not me, I just need you to talk to somebody. Somebody that is got your best interest at heart, and that's okay. And I trust that person that if it's an emergency or if it's something that I need to be concerned about, that they're gonna come to me and they're gonna tell me and they're gonna do the part where it's hard for you to. So it's okay for your kids to not want to tell you certain things. Parents just want all the control, but that's the quickest way to run them away from you too. Because I know a lot of kids be going away to college to escape their house. They be trying to escape you. They be trying to escape you. And so you want to make sure that you're, taking that into account too. Before we end the live, sis, plug this event at the end of the month. Tell us more about that and what else things are going on with the healing.
So our Black History Month event is going to be on February 26th. It is a Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. It is talking about our community and our relationship to our beautiful babies in foster care and how we can show up for them. We're partnering with the organization called Let It Be Us, and they are an organization that works with fostering and adopting. And so they'll be actually doing a presentation to answer questions for anyone who's interested in foster care and adoption towards the end of the event. But it's really to start the conversation within our community and bring this issue to our attention. We don't even think about it, but our babies make up the majority of the foster care system. And we are not even a fraction of the ones adopting. There is mostly white and other people adopting our babies if they adopt our babies, which means a lot of them are left in the system and the other half are going to homes that don't look like them. So what is that? And what can we do in that lane to help these beautiful children that are our children? It takes a village. How can we pour into them? If it's fostering, if it's adopting, that's beautiful. But if it's not, mentorship, how can we show up for them and let them know that their community really cares and supports them and help them be their best selves, not only while they're in foster care, but how to live a full and productive life outside of foster care.
All facts. I'm excited for this event. I'm definitely going to put it on my calendar so I can try and be there. I encourage anybody else that has this on their heart to show up and be a part of that conversation. Get your butts there on the 26th. We will be resharing info, the what time again, and just show up because we need positive representation in our community.
Be that representation.
Bring it.
And it's going to be at the Blackstone Library in Hyde Park.
Yes, for the Hyde Park. So keep that on your radars. And I am not ready to fully announce some developments just yet for the Miss Sante Harden tape, but there are some new things on the horizon. So when it is time, I will be sharing those things with you also. So be looking out for more details on upcoming things with me. But before we go, remember, this is Black History Month, but it's Black History all the time, 365 days a year. But, and 366 when it's the leap year. But you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the books and things that seem to circulate a lot around this time of month in recognition for Black History Month. There's some really amazing movies, documentaries, just children's books, etc. So, make time for, indulging in those things. We need to do it all year round, but, still we extra blackety black for February. So do some blackety black things for the month of February.
And talking about free books, there is the Brown Books and Paintbrushes organization. They have a pop-up, a play space for babies all the way up to the pre-teeny boppers. Free play space. It has a little theater in there. They have a maker space. They have a science space. It is so cool. Absolutely free. It's in South Shore on 71st Street. Look them up, and every time you come, you get a free Black book.
Yes. So we got some really deep topics coming up in the future that it's time for us to discuss that we haven't really tapped into. We're going to be talking about religion and how religion can play a generational curse. I know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with that, so I'm gonna have to do some extra preparation for the attack, because people was gonna feel some sort of way about these conversations, but it's necessary. It's not to say religion is bad, but we need to know how religion has become a generational trauma for a lot of us in our communities and what it does to us. We're also going to be talking about generational secrets, how they destroy us, and how keeping those secrets really strips us of our identity when we find out about them secrets, or how they really affect our identity. We gonna talk. So these are topics I've always wanted to discuss and talk about in my healing journeys, right? But I've been like, Lord, I know I'm finna ruffle feathers with this one. I'm finna piss some folks off, and I don't know where it's going. But I wouldn't be holding true. I mean, because I would be holding true to the concept of the show if I didn't do it. If I was gonna just half put it, I need to just, I shouldn't have did it at all. So we're gonna talk about these things because they're very, very big generational traumas, generational curses. And so I really want to dive into how having those secrets especially affect us for, like, it's a ripple effect for generations, and how we need to stop having all of these secrets and why it's not healthy to have all of these generational secrets. So we got some really deep and heavy topics coming up. I know we talked about I don't feel protected, last time, 2 weeks ago, but we also need to talk about the equilibrium, because there's a topic that I keep seeing floating around, the single married married mothers. There we go. Yes, and that there's a lot of talk about that and backlash when you have married mothers saying, I feel like a single parent. And then, it's like, you're not a single parent. So we need to talk about single parent and single married mothers, a single married parent.
I would like to propose a similar but offset topic.
Let's hear it.
Because I'm thinking about doing a documentary on this.
Let's hear it.
So this is my copyright. Y'all better not try to do no documentary.
It's already here, so they can't, because you already put it on. It's on record. It's the live, honey.
On Mama's Baby Daddy's Maybe.
Ooh.
And not just people not claiming their children. That's one huge aspect of trauma. But the other aspect of knowing this is your child and choosing to show up how you choose to show up, and choosing not to show up as well. And so I think that's a conversation that needs to be had on how fathers show up. And that's in marriages, that's in divorce, that's in baby daddy, that's in boyfriend, like just fathers in general in America, and we can do some research and beyond, but how fathers show up and how the responsibility of mothering and taking care of your child solely a lot of times falls on the mothers, even if the fathers are in the household.
And how that's a generational curse in
And how
itself,
that's a
and
generational
and
curse.
trauma in itself. And just to be fair, because we don't bash here, and we gonna keep it, equal. We also
Asha.
need to talk about how Black mothers are not fostering proper relationships with their daughters, because that's a huge thing too. And there's a lot of things that Black mothers do specifically towards their Black daughters that is causing generational trauma also. So whether that's
And their
noticeable,
sons.
look, their sons too. But we gonna talk about that. But we need to separate the two, because I feel like the way in which we traumatize our Black daughters versus our Black sons are very different. And so we gonna have to talk about that too. So we got some really heavy but necessary topics coming up in the near future. I hope y'all don't cancel me. I hope y'all don't, start blocking videos on Facebook and reporting stuff. But it's stuff that we need to talk about if we're going to dive deep into the healing journey. So be looking out for more details on that. And I'll be announcing the next topic soon. So other than that, it's 9:11, y'all. It's time to go and do what you do. I'm going to go
Oh,
eat.
I got one more.
Go ahead.
The MIA artist call has dropped for all of the artists out there, or if you know an artist. The Melanated in America exhibition will be coming back this spring. I need y'all to go ahead over to the Melanated in America page. I'll drop it in the group for Oh We Gonna Talk as well. Submit your artwork today.
Question.
Yeah.
Is the artwork only like visual art, or y'all doing written art as well?
So the really dope thing about the Melanated in America exhibition is that we highlight all art forms. And so
Okay.
the visual art is the hung art on the walls, or if it's sculpture on the wherever it's sitting. But in the course of the exhibition, we have the opening where you see all the art, everything's open. Then the next event we have is actually an open mic where we highlight performing artists. And so that's not just poetry, but it is poetry, it's spoken word, it's singing, it's dancing, it's more of an open stage. So all of our expressive and performing arts we highlight in the same space as the fine art, to highlight our writers, our singers, our dancers,
Yes.
as well. And then we also have a film screening to highlight our visual artists in a different way, which are our filmmakers, our directors, our producers, again, our writers, because if it's a scripted piece, the writers as well. So we try to highlight all forms of art during the course of the Melanated in America exhibition.
Well, I'm trying to get better with my performing, my writing, my poetry. So I might have to slide on the mic there.
Yes,
I
yes,
might have to do a little
yes,
something,
yes. Come
but
on,
I'm Erica
girl.
Badu. I'm sensitive about my shit. So we'll
Come
see.
on, girl.
We'll see. Well, we gonna hop off here. I'm starving. It's Wednesday. I'm tired. Thank y'all for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So that means that we'll be back here. Was it the 22nd? Yes, the 22nd of February. Happy Black History Month. We love y'all, and good night.